Welcome, friends. You're watching PowerBook Summaries. When I was a child, the word money in my world only meant stress and worry. My father, whom I now call my poor dad, was highly educated and had a decent office job. But still, he was constantly troubled by money problems. Every month, he'd wait anxiously for his salary. And as soon as the money came in, it would vanish into bills and daily expenses. I used to watch his tired face when he came home from work. There was a visible exhaustion in his eyes. There was a stark difference between the smile on his face and his real condition, and seeing that, I was left puzzled. Dad always used to say, "Son, study hard, get a good job, and you'll never have to worry about money again." Back then, I was just a kid, quietly sitting on my chair wondering, is a good degree really the only guarantee of a good life? But as I grew up and saw that even after education and hard work, the struggles remained, questions began forming in my mind. If others can make money, why can't we? So today, let's try to find the answer to that question through this life-changing book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In the same neighborhood, I had a best friend. His father, whom I now call my rich dad, started with a small grocery store in his early youth and slowly built a huge fortune over time. He was a self-made businessman, always smiling, and his mind constantly buzzed with new business ideas. There was something different in the air of his home. A big open veranda, warm sunlight, a cup of hot tea in hand, and him sitting calmly, sharing valuable business wisdom. Every time I visited, his smiling face gave me peace. There was never any unnecessary stress or money-related worry on his face. His wife, too, would always greet me warmly with snacks, and on her face was a glow not of fear, but of hopeful optimism. That house felt like a completely different world compared to the dull and heavy atmosphere of my own home. His home sparkled with dreams and possibilities. Every visit felt like a new lesson. Both fathers' teachings started echoing in my mind. One said, "Don't take risks. A safe job is everything." The other said, "Don't fear risks. Don't work for money, make money work for you." As a child, I was completely torn between these two worlds, two different ideologies, two completely opposite paths. Honestly, I couldn't figure out who was right and who was wrong. But then I thought, what if I could take the best lessons from both? Maybe I could build a better life for myself. And that thought became the first big turning point of my life. I began listening carefully to both their perspectives. Slowly, I realized the vast difference between the thinking of my poor dad and my rich dad. My poor dad used to say, "Son, get a strong degree, get into a government or top private job, and you'll be secure." But hidden in his advice was fear, a fear that said, "Avoid risk, choose safety." Every time I saw that fear on his face, it made me uneasy. Was a degree really enough to secure life? Even as a kid, I had deep questions in my mind. I thought, what if I pass the toughest exams and even top them? Then what? Will my dreams end there? Just a job, a salary, and waiting for payday every month? I even asked him sometimes, "Papa, is life really limited to just a job and paycheck? Isn't there more to it?" And his reply was always simple and firm. "Yes, son. A degree opens the door to life. Leave the rest to me. Trust me." There was love in his words, yes, but also a mindset wrapped in fear and limitations. And that's when a new question began to echo inside me. Is there another path? A path filled not with fear, but with freedom and hope. Rich Dad's way of thinking was completely different. He used to say, "Rich people don't work for money. Money works for them." When I heard this for the first time, I was shocked. It felt like he had opened a new door in my mind. A door I never knew existed. He explained, "Money isn't a burden or fear, it's a player. And we must learn to play wisely." Smiling, he used to say, "Don't fall into the trap of money. Create a path where money chases you." He meant that if we limit ourselves to just jobs and salaries, we'll never grow beyond someone else's system. He taught me, the real intelligence lies in how we think about money, how we use it. Are we just earning to spend it? Or are we using it smartly to make more? His words were filled with a fire, a light that slowly started spreading within me. I listened to every word, and I started thinking, could this really be possible? Those conversations went deep into my heart and mind. It felt like someone had finally given wings to my dreams. What once seemed impossible now began to feel within reach. One day, Rich Dad said something deeply powerful to me. As long as you don't change your thinking, no book in the world can make you rich. That line shook my soul. It wasn't just advice. It became a life mantra for me. For the first time, I realized that real change doesn't come from outside, it comes from within, he explained. What you learn in school or college can get you a job. But to build real wealth, you must enter the field where your heart beats, where your passion lives, he said. If you're just studying to get grades, you're becoming part of the system. But if you find your passion and act on it, you can step outside the system and create your own path. And at that moment, a new understanding sparked in my heart. I realized it's the biggest financial challenges that push us to think big. When life asks tough questions, we're forced to look within, to step out of our limits. And in that light, a new question appeared before me. What is true wealth? And how do I achieve it? For me, wealth was no longer just about money. It became about time, freedom, peace of mind, and the ability to keep growing. All these thoughts began echoing in my mind, like a temple bell suddenly ringing through the silence. Each thought, each example shook the way I thought about life and money. And this was just the beginning. Nobody taught us how to handle money, how to grow it. The books talked about the world, but never about the world inside our own pockets. My poor dad, my real father, always said, "Son, get a good degree and everything will fall into place." For him, education meant getting a job, and a job meant security. But my rich dad thought differently. He believed that real lessons begin after school ends. He would say, life's real test doesn't come from books, it comes from the real world. One day, he told me, "Look, son, school teaches you how to become part of a system that turns you into an employee. But if you truly want to become rich, you must educate yourself about money." I asked him, "What do you mean by education about money?" He smiled and said, "Financial education means understanding how money works, how to make money work for you, how to invest wisely, how to save on taxes, how to build a business, and most importantly, how to shift your mindset so that money chases you, not the other way around." Then he said something so deep, it still echoes in my heart today. What you study for your exams might get you a job, but what you study for life will give you wealth. He told me, you can only leap into the vineyard when you have the courage to grow something within yourself, not just to sell, but to create. That was the moment when a new awareness was born inside me. Now, I wasn't just reading school books. I was learning the language of money, the game of money, and the world of money. One line from Rich Dad completely transformed me. School education is important, but financial education is even more important. Because a degree is something millions have, but financial understanding, only a few possess it. And those few become the real wealthy in this world. One day, Rich Dad invited me to his office. I was nervous but excited. I felt I was about to learn something different. When I arrived, the environment was unlike my school. There were no motivational quotes on the walls, just income statements, balance sheets, and tax documents. On the table, instead of textbooks, there were files, and each file carried the heartbeat of a business. He brought out my first desk book, a simple notebook. But for me, it felt like a treasure map. He calmly said, "In this book, we'll write down everything, how much you earn, how much you spend. If you ever want to run your own business, this is the first skill you need to master. Track every rupee you touch." That day, I felt I was finally learning real business and finance, not just chasing school grades. Then he said, "Let's start a small project." We bought some candies and began selling them at a small table. On the first day, we suffered a loss. The candies didn't sell. The next day, we changed things, new packaging, slightly lower price, and we made a small profit. Every evening, we sat down and recorded it all in the desk book. How many candies were sold, how many were left, how much money came in, where the expenses went. Rich Dad smiled and said, "Big businessmen do the same. They track every penny, and then they think carefully about their next move." He explained, "This is financial literacy, understanding your habits around money, keeping track of income and expenses, and slowly improving those habits." He said, "Write it down on paper or on a computer, because money will never stay with you unless you understand its game." From that day on, my entire outlook changed. Counting money was no longer a headache, it became my greatest responsibility. I finally realized, without proper records, people only earn, but only those who understand money become rich. Rich Dad's words echoed in my mind. Money can be your servant, but if you don't learn to control it, it will become your master. That evening, I sat alone in a field under the cool breeze, gazing at the stars. A peaceful clarity came over me that I could now clearly see. True education isn't just found in books, it's hidden in life's experiences. At school, we were taught, get good grades, get a job, and life will be secure. But Rich Dad taught me, no degree can protect you without financial understanding. Each day, when I recorded my small shop's income and expenses, I felt I was in the real school. Here, mistakes didn't cost you marks, they cost you money. And that's how true understanding was born. The joy of my first earning was sweet, but the responsibility that followed taught me that earning is easy, managing it is an art. One line from Rich Dad kept ringing in my ears. Eliminate the fear from your thinking, and not only money, your whole life will change. In his words were not just advice, but a warning. If we live in fear, money will never come to us. That day, I realized fear is just an emotion, and it can be defeated with knowledge. And knowledge doesn't come only from books, it comes from life. Just like the day I earned my own money for the first time. From then on, money wasn't scary anymore. It became a friend, one I was trying to understand and grow with. That night, I made a vow, no matter what happens, I will never ignore my financial education. Because to turn dreams into reality, you need not just education, but money awareness and self-belief. Even after learning all this, a new worry crept into my mind. Fear. Rich Dad used to say, "Rich don't ignore fear, they learn from it, and then move forward." I first realized this was true when we decided to invest a small portion of our savings in the stock market. My heart was pounding. My family kept saying, "Son, keep your money safe. Don't risk it." But Rich Dad said, "If you back down because of fear, you'll never achieve great success. If you always hide indoors, how will you ever see the light outside?" Those words gave me courage. I began taking small steps. Once, we introduced a new item in our shop. Another time, we expanded a little. Every day brought new challenges, but whenever I dared to try something new, I felt fear falling a little further behind me. At first, our new product took a day to sell, but the next time, we made a profit. It felt like a ray of light had broken through the darkness. Each small success boosted my confidence. Fear began to fade. I started realizing fear is a natural emotion that stops us from learning something new. But once we learn to overcome it, no barrier can stand in our way. Fear doesn't stop us. It gives us the opportunity to become stronger, but only if we take that first step forward. Eventually, after a few months of hard work, our small business began to show results. And for the first time, I experienced true self-confidence. Rich Dad's advice proved to be absolutely true. When you work smartly behind every rupee, fear fades by itself. I saw clearly, as long as we cling to just a house, a car, and a secure job, the real paths to growth remain closed. That day I felt it deeply. If we focus only on security, new opportunities slowly disappear. Security is important. But if we run from risks out of fear, we'll never reach the heights of our dreams. One thought kept echoing in my mind. He who fears change never builds anything new. Then my understanding deepened even more. When Rich Dad explained the difference between a job holder and an investor, Poor Dad used to say, "Son, getting a job is the biggest achievement. That's where your security lies." He believed him. Good job could sustain a life, but Rich Dad said, a job is just one path. The income from a job is like a river. It flows in one direction, but when it dries up, all the lights go out. He said, if you only think in terms of a job, you'll always be chained to working hours. The rich don't work in jobs, they run businesses. That raised a powerful question in my mind. Is a job really the final goal of life? Or should I learn to make money work for me instead of me working for it? This shifted the entire direction of my thinking. I realized Rich Dad's teachings were right. My poor dad stayed in the banking job his entire life, but never truly escaped financial stress. Then Rich Dad said, learn from your job, yes, but use that energy to build your own business too. He gave a simple example. Invest a portion of your monthly salary into assets. Watch how your earnings multiply. I invested a small savings into a tiny business, and soon, I began seeing consistent profit each month. When I started seeing money in my bank outside of my salary, I felt proud of myself. I wasn't just working hard anymore. I was now thinking like a small investor, and that changed everything. Rich Dad's mantra was life-changing. Don't be a slave to your job, develop the mindset of an investor. He explained, in a job, we sell our effort. But when we build assets, money starts working for us. Over time, my passive income started to grow. And that's exactly what we call financial freedom. Rich Dad always said, money creates more money if we invest in the right assets. This simple truth gave a whole new direction to my life. My experience taught me, hard work is important, but so is the right mindset and smart investing. That's what separates the rich mindset from the ordinary one. Are you still searching for new ways to invest? Or are you focusing more on a specific asset? Whenever I spoke about hard work and investing with my friends and family, they looked at me with surprise. My poor dad used to say, son, don't dream too big. Becoming rich isn't easy. Security is the greatest wealth. One of my friends, Arun, used to mock me in the beginning. He said, don't let this business nonsense ruin your steady job mindset. But when I stayed focused on my efforts and investments, slowly even he started to understand my thinking. He once told me, you couldn't even lift a pretty pebble from a donkey's back. 2 years later, when I made a profit selling my first property, he was silent. That silence told me he had finally seen that I was serious. I started adopting new habits every day. Every time I received my monthly income, I divided it. Some for household expenses, some for savings, and the rest for investments. Maybe this mindset started small, but it led to big results. I learned that true wealth doesn't lie in how much you earn, but in how you manage, grow, and multiply what you have. Rich Dad's most powerful lesson was this: don't work for money. Make money work for you. And once that lesson truly sank in, my relationship with money changed forever. If you found these insights valuable and want to learn more life-changing lessons from the world's best books, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, PowerBook Summaries. Here, we bring you powerful summaries of the world's greatest self-help, finance, and success books, so you can build a rich mindset and a rich life. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.